In this video, I will demonstrate how to create a new class in Delphi. Before creating the class, let's try to understand what we want the class to do. Firstly, I'm going to develop or create a human class, a class called human. It needs to have the attributes name and age. And it needs to behave in a certain way, whereby I need to be able to create the human object. Obviously, that's the first thing that needs to be done. Once the object is created, I need to be able to display my attributes of name and age. I should also be able to get just the age. I'm not interested in getting the name. I should be able to set the age to a new value. Again, I'm not interested in changing or setting the name. And I'd also like to return the age of the person in 10 years' time. So this is what I want my blueprint for this human class to look like. Let's look at how we implement this in Delphi. Let's assume we have Delphi started up and it's a new project that has started. In this instance, this is unit 2, and this is my form. I've got nothing stored on my form. In order for me to create a new unit so that I can then create my class within this unit, I will first click on File. I will then click on New, and thereafter I want to create a new unit. So those are the steps that will allow me to create a new unit, resulting in a form like this, which is pretty much blank. It has a unit name, which in this case is unit 1. It has the interface with nothing inside of the interface, and the implementation sections with nothing inside of it. Here you can see the actual unit that we've created. It's got a different icon from the icon of our main form unit. So that's the unit that I've just created in which I'm going to create this human class. To get started in creating the human class, which I have here, right? Remember, these are the 2 attributes that I want, and these are the behaviors that I'd like to have. So the first thing we need to do is give our class a name. In this case, the name of the class is human. We normally precede that with a T in front of it. So it's called THuman equals class. And because it's an object class, we will say TObject. When you press enter, automatically the end will be created for you. And there is an end, but there's no corresponding begin for that particular end. So this is the class that we are creating, and this class has to be created in the type section, which is under your interface. So type is a reserved word, and within the type section, we then create the class that we want. In other words, we are creating our blueprint. Within the class, we have 2 parts to it. The first part are our private, and the second part is where we keep things public. In the private section, that's where we set up our attributes. So we wanted 2 attributes, name and age. So I create an attribute fName and fAge. We usually, as a convention, we precede the attribute with an F. That's just a nice convention to use. It's not compulsory, but it's a good idea to precede it with an F so that we know that represents the attribute. And these are the data types for the attribute. You may want to know, why are we keeping the attributes private? Well, think of it as us protecting the attributes by keeping it private. These attributes are protected. We then access the private attributes through public methods that we write. Then we create our public methods. These are all methods. The first method that we create is called the constructor. The name of the constructor is create. The purpose of the constructor is to initialize the attribute, to give our attributes values. That's what it means to initialize it. So if we want to initialize the attributes, then it means we need values to be able to initialize it to. So we create parameters. In this case, I've got a parameter called sname, and I've got a parameter called iAge. These could be named anything you want to, X and Y for that matter. But these are cryptic names, so we want them to be meaningful. So sname is the value that I'm bringing into the constructor. And this you will see a bit later when we write the implementation, how we assign these values to the attributes. So I'm going to bring in a name and I'm going to bring in an age. And this takes place through the use of parameters. So that's the constructor. The next aspect we wanted to display, we wanted to get the age and set the age. Let's sort those two out. Get the age allows us to display the particular attribute. So in this case, all our gets, we write them as functions. Functions return a value. They can only return a single value. So function get age, that's the name of my function. And this particular function is returning an integer value because it's returning the age. These get functions that we write, they are called accessor. They are called accessor methods. Then we write the set. The set allows me to change my attribute. The get allowed me to access, to get the attribute. The set allows me to change the value of the private attribute. So for me to change the value of an attribute, I need to have a value that I'm changing it to. So again, we have a parameter. So my parameter is the age, which is an integer. And then in the implementation, you will see I take the age value and I set it to fAge, which is my attribute. All my set methods are written as procedures, and these set methods are called mutator methods. We then, at some point, we want to display our attributes. In that instance, we use a function, toString. The toString will return all the attributes, and we can give it headings. And in returning them with headings, we can then call them in a rich edit, which can then be output. So in most instances, we use the toString function for output purposes. I'm then wanting another general method to be able to tell me what the age of the person will be in 10 years' time. So I've chosen to write this as a function so it can return the value. The name is age in 10 years, and it's going to take the age, add 10 years to it, and it's returning it as an integer value. So this is what my blueprint for this human class is going to look like.